Fight the Fee organizers received a series of emails and solicitations from the administration and the Cornell Police Department. An email that an investigator sent me in particular asking me to come in. It didn't really specify what for. It was just asking me to come in because there's an incident that they thought I might have information about. Shortly afterwards, two other organizers received an email from Susan Murphy and Mary Opperman calling for a meeting so they could sort of go over the code of conduct again, which is a euphemistic way of threatening them and basically saying that the leniency, or the supposed leniency that the university showed at earlier demonstrations that we'd organized would not be tolerated during Charter Day. This was a kind of like preemptive intimidation to make sure that nothing ended up happening. So essentially what happened was I was called in, and initially I was told by the investigator that no JA charges were pending against me, that he was just trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, as he said, because he said there were people who wanted to know what was going on. I had a judicial codes counselor with me who was a law student, who wasn't allowed to represent me legally or really say anything, but they were there in observational capacity. I was brought in, the officers, initially like really warm and nice, and was sort of like, I just want answered a few questions, and then he started asking me questions about what Save the Pass was, which is the Facebook page that Fight the Fee is publicized on, what the structure of Fight the Fee is, like how the action was organized, like a bunch of kind of tangential questions which didn't exactly have to do with the so-called incident. I refused to answer any questions. It's my Fifth Amendment right. I was informed by the JCC that I didn't have to answer any questions that I felt uncomfortable answering. So I stated that I didn't feel comfortable answering questions. The officer immediately began to start pressuring me, telling me that, by me not answering, it was an admission of guilt, and I was saying no, in fact, I'm just invoking my rights. After that, the officer started to make a series of escalating threats, the first of which that he was going to subpoena the Facebook page and supposedly reveal that I'm like an administrator on the Save the Pass page, which isn't me actually. So that was the first threat. After I continued to refuse to basically give information about the group, who else was involved in organizing, what the structure of it was like, and also like details about the March 26th Welcome the Trustees demonstration, I was told that while there weren't any JA charges pending, in fact there were criminal charges pending, the officer said that he had enough evidence to convict me on a D felony, which would have been burglary, criminal trespass, and unlawful use of the computer. And through the entire interrogation, I was repeatedly threatened with this felony arrest. I was told that if I didn't cooperate, I would be let out of class in handcuffs in the next couple of days. I was told that I would never get a job. This would ruin my life. If I had charges pending, it would complicate my graduation. Two other Fight the Fee organizers got emails from the CUPD similar to mine. They were brought in the capacity as witnesses. One of them, she was mostly asked about an incident that occurred before the trustees meeting, which was a photo that was like posted on the Save the Pass page that showed the Welcome the Trustees event photo being projected in the Statler Amphitheater, and it was posted the morning before the Welcome the Trustees action. In her, she actually had legal representation there. It was actually a Cornell professor who went with her. The investigator revealed that the incident they were interested in was actually this photograph, and that confirmed that there was no property damage whatsoever inside, and the charge of burglary, which I was being told I was in trouble for, like I was a suspect for, involved like supposedly breaking into the Statler Amphitheater and then breaking into the AV room to project the image. The problem with that is, like, if anyone has been in the Statler Hotel, pulled an all-nighter, any hotelly, like whatever, everyone knows that those doors aren't locked. Furthermore, those doors have electronic locks. So if those doors would have been broken into, you would have had to break the entire door. But the next day, there's tons of documentation from photos and videos at the protest that the doors were completely operational. In fact, the policeman who ended up being my investigator was one of the undercover CUPD bodyguards at the meeting who was using the door. So this brings us to the question of, if they know that no burglary could have possibly been committed because nothing was stolen, and And because there was no breaking and entering, why are they interested? The first answer is that it's intimidation, obviously leading up to Charter Day. The second one is sort of a classic case of sort of, the logic of like counterinsurgency, which is being deployed at Cornell. And what that is in order to fill out a network of an organization that you're trying to take down or gather surveillance on, you take the person that you have the most leverage against. With that person, you try to intimidate them into giving up their comrades and giving up other people that they organize with. So then you can kind of create a psychology of the group, you can create networks, you can figure out what their planning processes are and things like that. And what's really disturbing about what's happening here is that that's actually something that the Cornell police, which pretends all the time that they're not actually a real police force, is engaging in. And this is a tactic that they're going to continue to engage in as long as there are protests at this university, and those are going to continue to happen because Cornell is showing no signs of like 150 years of repression slowing. Well, like the repression that myself and other organizers at Cornell are dealing with is minuscule compared to what people both across this country and like across the world are dealing with. I think it's indicative of like the logic that is used when trying to dismantle popular movements. Is that my investigator was actually a bronze medalist from Afghanistan. So he was in the army and like went to Afghanistan and was involved, I think, in like special operations. You know, came out of the military and got a job at Cornell. So you have to think about like the frameworks or like the ways of understanding the enemy, the ways of understanding like the other in these situations that these police officers are bringing with them. And as a result that like the Cornell Police Department has. Kathy Zoner, as many of you know, went to Israel and had like a counterterrorism like training there. And like besides what Cornell's police department likes to portray themselves as, like they're an incredibly militarized, sophisticated, deadly serious organization.